Today we are in the Porsche GT4, which is an all-time favorite. I think this car is just amazing. If they had made it 10 years ago or 10 years from now, it would be just as relevant. So, a little bit of background. We've always been fans of the Cayman. We had 2008 Cayman S Design Edition that we put a lot of miles on, really enjoyed. And then we got another Cayman S. We actually ran two of them at once at one point. We like them so much, it's the only car we've had in duplicate in the fleet for a period of time. And they're just great cars, you know, like even the early Cayman S's, they just got it right. Super balanced, it's a pure driver's car. Really felt like 100% driver focused. And even those ones with the 3.4 liter motor were great cars. I mean, if you're being honest with yourself, it's hard to say that you really need more than 300 horsepower on the street in a lightweight, you know, mid-engine car like that. This is kind of exactly what we like to drive. You know, we like pure driver's cars. So the GT4 came out of the sort of legend that Porsche was holding these cars back, you know, mid-engine chassis, smaller, lighter. Everyone suspected it had, within its abilities, it could outdo the Halo car, the 911. So they never put the big motors in it. We had a 3.4 liter in the S, where, you know, the 911 S at the time we got a 3.6 liter, the GT3 was going to 3.8. But finally, in 2016, they gave us the big 911 motor in a Cayman and put all the GT3 suspension on the front end, did a custom GT rear suspension, and gave the full Porsche GT treatment where everything got lighter and more purposeful. And I gotta tell you, it's just one of the best cars ever. I just can't think of any car in the club I'd rather get in to just go rip around Bear Mountain or some curvy back roads, where not only is it an incredible performance machine, but because it is smaller, lighter, not so overpowered, it feels accessible within my driving ability, and like that's pretty important. You know, we have some really fast cars, but you know, I can't put 600 horsepower down driving around public roads. I can't do it on a track. Like I drive 130 horsepower Miata on the track, and you know, when I get out and drive, I want to be able to exercise my own abilities as much as the car. And admittedly, this car at 385 horsepower is still way more than I need, but it's coming into a range where I feel like I can maybe get 6/10 out of the car and do something enjoyable without going totally off the hook dangerous on public roads. And really, that's what it's about. You're not out there to set a land speed record. You're out there to enjoy driving, and this car is the perfect piece of equipment to do it. And I think one of the things that makes it so perfect is it is just so pure. There's no doubt there is some technology in here. I believe this has the same electric assisted steering rack from the GT3. It's got some kind of fancy diff. It does have a sport mode, which gives you rev matching that makes you look like a hero. It's got some active exhaust, but you really don't have to worry about any of this stuff. It's not like getting into some of the higher powered, more sophisticated supercars where you really got to learn how you manage all these systems. You just get in, you get a 6-speed gearbox, you know, a gear shift, 3 pedals, and a steering wheel, and you go drive. All right, we've got our lower Manhattan quarter mile, so let's hear what this thing sounds like. Once again, not enough room. we get ahead of the stoplights, but you know, I don't know. I really don't know anyone who could honestly say they need more power than this. This is about as pure motorsport as it gets. The only thing that's lacking for me is I wish I had a few corners. Pretty sweet sounds, and we have it on sport mode, which is hero downshift mode. It just blips the throttle perfectly as you're going down through the gears. Pretty trick stuff. You know, I'll probably leave that off half the time. I still want to make sure I can do it myself, but I kind of can't fault how good it does it for you. One little bit of trick tech that reminds you this is a modern car, not an absolutely pure, basic, bare bones classic. While this car, to me, is near perfect, there are some criticisms. You know, I've heard a lot of people comment that the gearing's a bit tall. And surely, you know, we'll do screw around, try to gain a bit of that power back that was robbed away from the S. Porsche claims it was a packaging thing, that they couldn't put the same headers on the car when they put the engine in the middle. So they ran out of room to make that clear headers, and that sapped a bit of power. Maybe they're holding it back, who knows. You know, once you get motoring with this thing, it's really a momentum car. It makes great sounds, and it's just super responsive. Every input you give it, the steering wheel and the gas, does exactly what you want it to do. Yeah, I'd be curious to drive one with different gears, but I'm not really desperate to change much in this car. I think Porsche pretty much nailed it. Their GT department really knows what they're doing, and I'd be kind of hard pressed to find much that I'd want to change. The sound and the kind of feeling when you hear this car running through the gears, to me, it's just like screams pure motorsport. I think of any 911 I've ever seen racing. Although I'm in a Cayman, of course, but any Porsche I've ever seen racing, it's just the best, you know. Sure, like if I had one, I'd probably be tempted to crank the exhaust note up a little bit, maybe try out this lower gearing. I guess I could see some of the Sharkworks guys and Sharkify it. I'm sure there'd be some sacrifice on the other end of that, you know. Someday maybe I'll get to drive one that's set up that way and see, but at the moment, I could be really happy for a long time driving this car. For my interests in sports cars, especially vintage sports cars, I can't think of a better car to do it in. I think it's an instant classic. They didn't make a lot of them. I think they underestimated the demand, so they were pretty hard to get a hold of. And now we're in 2017, and all the 911s have gone to turbo motors, with the exception of the GT3 and the GT3 RS. So there isn't a naturally aspirated S motor lying around to put in the next generation Cayman. So I'm really curious what they're going to do. If they keep this old 3.8 alive, run it in the car, or if the next Cayman's going to be turbo. It's not to say the turbo car wouldn't be great, but if you're going for the purest of pure, which is what this car is an example of, it just won't be the same without a naturally aspirated motor. So as much of a hot ticket as these were to get in the first place, if they don't make them anymore, you know, they're going to really become a collector's item. So I think it's going to stay in the fleet for a while. You'll have a good chance to drive it. If we ever do decide to retire it, I'll be hard pressed not to keep it for myself and tuck it away for a future classic. While it's here, get out and drive it, go hit some good roads, have a good time. You know, this car is really a perfect example of what the club is all about.